What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Jungle Cup Great League Edition. As you may recall, we have had this Jungle Cup as a little cup a couple of times now, but now we've got the upgraded version to the Great League. Also, happy Friday. We're here. Weekend's almost here, hopefully, for most of you. And we're going to take a look at some of my top 5 teams here, as well as some picks that I enjoy here in this Jungle Cup. I almost call it Little Jungle Cup, even though it's not. So anyway, let's get right into these rankings here. We're going to go through the rankings, take out some picks. I like, the rankings are really, once again, just like Ultra Premier, these rankings are very telling of what you're probably going to see. It's kind of a condensed, kind of top rankings heavy meta here, with Steelix being the #1 and Skarmory, and then we've got Clodsire, Vigoroth, right, Abomasnow, Mandibuzz, and those kind of like Stunfisk, and the Shadow version of Quagsire and Skarmory running in our top 10 here. As we go down a little bit further, other things that stand out. Obviously, we still have Abomasnow. We also have Mantine, Swampert, Altaria, Lickitung. I feel like there are definitely some things that are here that could definitely be some outliers, right? Like you see that we have Piloswine, Zweilous here. I would be terrified to bring those into this league just because this first team that you see on my screen here, Altaria, Steelix, and Vigoroth, which I guess are pretty good because past like, once you get past like rank 30 and 40, I think I would say 50, right? Anything past 50, you probably don't see. And that's kind of telling on how this meta is going to be. It's going to be kind of condensed, but there's going to be some good stuff in the rankings here that we can pick from. We're going to talk about them right now. So the first team here is going to be Altaria, Steelix, Vigoroth. Y'all always hear me say when I do these teams videos about how, oh, you should never expect the letter rankings to all be A's because, there's always so much of a meta that you can cover. Look at this. Straight A's with this team. And so the whole team idea here is you're using Altaria as your anti-fighter, right? Because you don't have a ton of fighters in this meta, but Vigoroth is going to be common and you have to be able to deal with it, right? So you could use, and just as sort of a quick aside here with the Pokemon in these videos, right? I try to make all 5 teams unique. You can substitute Vigoroth for Dubwool, Dunsparce, Lickitung, Steelix. Any of these things you could substitute for any Pokemon of a like. You're still looking for a fighting lure, so you can use any real fighting lure in this team to get out that Vigoroth, so that you can then use your Steelix to hopefully sweep the end game. Now, the thing is that there are ground types allowed in this meta, so Steelix is very polarizing, as is Altaria, but Altaria has a little bit more of a safer time as long as it's not matched up against the Steelix, for example. I would expect to see Steelix is on the lead as well, so perhaps you maybe would like to flip this team around and use a Vigoroth lead with an Altaria in the back, and then also use maybe some other flyer to deal with the Steelix as well. Perhaps maybe you want to use Mantine or something like that. I wouldn't mind that either. But this team getting straight as on PvPoke, you could play this probably in just about any order. You could even do ABA against fighting and just have the Steelix in the lead, because honestly, Steelix and Vigoroth don't do too badly into the Vigoroth themselves. Steelix resisting both Body Slam and Rock Slide. If you're running Psychic Fangs, and in this meta, you're running Psychic Fangs crunched, you could run Earthquake, you could run Breaking Swipe if you want to, and hope for that coin flip debuff. But overall, this team looks incredibly powerful in this Jungle Cup meta, and only one Pokemon out of the entire meta can core break it. That's Charizard. Now, Charizard is a number 50 ranking type Pokemon. It's not super dominant, but it could break this team up. Now, it does beat everything in a 1-to-1 situation. However, it's not going to be able to solo this whole team unless it gets a huge energy lead on, for example, farms down the Vigoroth, and then, yeah, your Altaria and your Steelix are going to have a bad time. But otherwise, the other things that, obviously Clodsire has to land Stone Edges, right? If somebody's running Sludge Bomb, for example, the Altaria is probably going to do well here. And then things like Skarmory, again, you have play against everything here with Skarmory. Even Vigoroth can deal with Skarmory on its own if it has to. And most of the other things here that get core break this team, I'm not super worried about, because the team has play. Nothing gets hard dominant losses against most of the things that are on this list where the team only has one answer to technically. So going down here, you have a very, very strong team in this one, and I think you would do well to give it a shot. So let's get into the next team here. because we were just talking about Charizard, there's no way I'm not making a Charizard team following that up. You see a lot of the previous team, here's a team that you can run. However, the thing you have to realize here as well is that once again, we're using Lickitung here as the fighting lure to get Abomasnow the chance it needs to sweep the end game. Now, Shadow Abomasnow typically is going to fare better in most cases in this meta, but if you don't have one, a regular one will work just fine. Charizard is here as the anti-Vigoroth, right? So you're going to lure out whatever your Vigoroth is in the back, because most teams are probably going to have Vigoroth. Let's be completely honest here. And if you don't want to use Lickitung, again, you can use Dubwool, your own Vigoroth, Steelix, whatever works for you. I would probably shy away from Steelix, though, because you don't want to be so weak to water, which there are several ground waters in this meta that are worth looking out for. And if you have a Shadow Charizard, might be even better. It's a little bit more frail, but that farm is going to go much, much further if you have that Shadow boost because of how attack-weighted Charizard is. Now, what we've got here is, letter grade's not quite as stellar as the last team, but the whole team has good matchups into Steelix, good matchups into Clodsire. Charizard destroys Skarmory. It has good matches into pretty much everything else here in this meta. Honestly, the only things that you're really worried about here are going to be Talonflame, Umbreon, Pidgeot, Toxapex, and then the list gets completely, washed from there. You're not going to have much that you're going to worry about in this meta based on just those things. So, I mean, if I'm worried about Talonflame, then maybe I'm going to put my Vigoroth in the back because it has that Rock Slide. Or, you could also use Dubwool, which has a better matchup, getting those body slams just a turn quicker than Vigoroth, and also not being completely hard destroyed by Vigoroth. If you safe swap Lickitung, yeah, you're going to guarantee that the Vigoroth is going to come out, but you're probably going to get pretty hard farmed, and then if they have to land Rock Slides against Charizard, you're going to have a bad time. So, just, again, alternatives to that part of the team you can certainly use. Doesn't mean that Lickitung is the only possible thing. Again, like I said, I try to make unique teams based on what's in this meta, trying not to reuse Pokemon unless I have to. I very, very much so wanted to reuse something in this next team, though, so let's take a look at it. I was very tempted to put Vigoroth over the Diggersby, but when I saw that Diggersby was recommended to be running Hyper Beam, I said, you know what? Diggersby deserves a spot as a safe swap somewhere in one of these teams, and the Mantine Double Ground is going to be the place to go. Now, once again, of course, you don't want to play Unova Stunfisk, you don't want to play Diggersby, you could play Swampert, Whiscash, literally almost any other ground Pokemon in this meta. Probably not Gliscor. If you didn't know, I do believe that Galarian Stunfisk and Gligar are banned from this meta. And so essentially what we've got here is the Mantine Double Ground, which is going to help against Steelix, right? Even Mantine has really good play into Steelix. It's very bulky. You could run Water Pulse if you like. You could also run Ice Beam depending on what you want to see. I would probably run Ice Beam because I'm expecting quite a bit of Altaria to show up in this meta. But overall, the team, super solid into the top core meta, right? You've got Mantine with I believe the Unovan Stunfisk is a sleeper pick, even though it's kind of rated highly. But I think it core breaks a lot of things in this meta with very, very quick Mud Bombs and Discharges. There we go. You got those two Pokemon in your set. You also have a lead that beats Abomasnow, which is really, I think that's like the only grass in this meta, if I'm not mistaken. No, there's a few grasses. There's things like, there's also Ferrothorn, and probably some other weird ones like Torterra or something that you're probably not. Oh, Credilli's also in the meta. Speaking of grass types, right? Ferrothorn, Credilli are two things that can core break this team. But once again, Mantine has an incredible amount of play into both of those because the flying type damage that Mantine does is quick and it's consistent. And Ferrothorn probably has to land that Thunder in order to KO, and the Credilli probably just gets to enough Rock Slides before the Mantine's able to take it out. So if you see a lot of this team, Ferrothorn, Credilli, one of those two could be really strong. So let's take a look at another strong team here. Team number 4 is probably the most fun one that I've seen so far. Clodsire, it's a boy. We love Clodsire. Clodsire is just fantastic. Another team that has triple strong into Steelix. The reason why Mandibuzz is strong into Steelix is because they are running Psychic Fang's Crunch, and even if they run Earthquake, right, they have to basically run Breaking Swipe in order to have a chance to beat Mandibuzz, and most of them at this point are not because it's not the guaranteed debuff. Skarmory also not going to have a great time against this team, even though Clodsire does get kind of walled by it. You do have access to Stone Edge, which is recommended in this meta alongside Earthquake, and that's going to allow you to hit the Skarmory for at least neutral damage if you can get a farm down or some extra energy, right? And then we are able to beat Vigoroth with... Somehow Mandibuzz does beat Vigoroth. Maybe it's just because Vigoroth isn't super bulky. That's a strange one to me. But I imagine that it probably just does the Dark Pulse damage, and that's probably it. Abomasnow core breaks this team quite a bit. So if you do encounter an Abomasnow, would probably be forced to play out the lead a little bit with the Clodsire. Thankfully, because of Clodsire's bulk, it means that you're going to be able to get at least a Stone Edge, maybe 2 off before being taken out by the Abomasnow. And at that point, hopefully you've garnered shield advantage or done a considerable amount of damage to the Abomasnow, where Mandibuzz with an Aerial Ace or even Greninja with a Night Slash might be able to knock it out. That's kind of your best case scenario. So the team overall, threats-wise, Abomasnow, Zweilous, and Alolan Raticate, 2 of which you're probably not going to see very much of. Abomasnow being the biggest threat to this team. So, you know, if you want to, you could also try and, you know, run like Nidoqueen. I guess you would have a much better time against a Abomasnow with a Nidoqueen lead if you're worried about Abomasnow leads. Otherwise, you know, you could definitely do something. You just want to make sure that your lead is strong against grass in general, right? Not always, but just in general, because there is a few grass types to be aware of. You also want it to be able to handle fighters, right? So the poison typing on Clodsire makes it ideal for this particular task. But hey, I might try this team. It looks like a lot of fun, to be honest. But let's take a look at the final team of the video here, which is going to be a Skarmory double Mudboy team. Because Abomasnow is the only widely used grass type in the meta, you're not going to see as many Ferrothorns, I would reckon. So it makes the Mudboy safe swap very, very usable here, as there's not very many things that can hard punish it. Even a Ferrothorn will have to be scared of the Mud Bombs if the Ferrothorn is behind on shields or energy. So you could safe swap the Swampert, you could safe swap the Whiscash. Either way, in this particular situation, I think is fine. It depends on which one you'd rather sweep with. I would probably safe swap the Whiscash because it has the Scald for the debuff and also has a lot more bulk than Swampert does. But we'll take a look at this team here. And we've got some pretty good coverage on the letter grades, right? And the team has extremely solid coverage into pretty much everything that's not named Mandibuzz. And I think in this case, right, and if you see Abomasnow lead, obviously your Skarmory's sitting very pretty with those steel wings being able to clap its face off. Skarmory also is something that I have recently really come to appreciate, as even though like it gets walled by steel and electric, and there's probably something else that I'm thinking of. Rock technically, but not with the steel wings, right? But like Skarmory is a very RPS sort of Pokemon, but the ability to just land, you know, Skarmory's Brave Bird and Sky Attack have got so much threatening potential, and the steel wings add up so quickly that I think that Skarmory has really become something that, even though it's an RPS Pokemon, it just seems like it's too good not to use, right? So overall, really good coverage into the core meta here, Mandibuzz being one pain point here, so you would probably need a team effort to take that down. But Greninja and Galarian Zapdos and, of all things, Breloom, right? And then you have things like Swampert that could be troublesome, and that's really about it, right? Like even Whiscash, you know, those 2 Pokemon, like that's all team, you know, that's all going to be, you know, a team effort to be able to deal with those things. But as long as you know that going in, if you use a team like this, you should be able to come out in a pretty good spot here. So that is the final team. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the Jungle Cup. I hope so, because, I mean, let's be honest, the Spring Cup was a bit of a disaster. This meta does look like it has a chance to be fun, but it also looks pretty RPS. So hopefully these teams are going to help you guys overcome the RPS. And again, I just have to shout out my Discord via the YouTube membership and the Patreon subscription. You can check the links in the description and the pinned comment for a absolutely goated community that is a wonderful place to be to get better at Go Battle League, not only from information from myself. Like I've done a whole write-up on this meta already. By the time you see this video, that meta write-up's going to have already come and gone. And my Discord knows about upcoming metas and possible picks and teams to have ready well before in advance, because I look at that stuff at the beginning of every season, as well as early access to my videos, my teams, and the meta analysis as well. So just shout out, because, you know, it helps support my family, and I can't not, you know, try to get a little bit of that, because, you know, times are tough, man. I'm gonna be honest. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy these teams in the Jungle Cup. Let me know in the comments if you have a team that you really want to run, maybe some ideas, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.